Happy Aloha Friday, Reality Ohana. Hey, it's been a while since we've done one of these weekly updates, and primarily it's because we've been, in another kind of lockdown stay-at-home order, and so not much to kind of announce other than Sundays. But with all these tiers and going forward, I just wanted to communicate what that means for us, as well as some exciting updates to come. And so for us, where a church falls into all this is we are an essential business, and because our model is not in a large setting, like we're in homes, whether that's doing house church or Ohana groups, we're allowed to do those things. And so as you see fit, as it's comfortable, be safe, take precautions. But I want to encourage you that you are allowed to get together in homes and for Ohana groups or house churches. And obviously we want to be able to practice social distancing and take precautions so that we are careful, but we are allowed to do that. And so I want to encourage you, as you're comfortable, to please go ahead and kind of go back to where we were until we can meet again, and foster these relationships, reach out to each other, gather on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. and pray with one another and worship together and take communion together, all done safely, obviously, but do that. And then Ohana groups, obviously up to you, however you want to do that. If you want to do the Zoom thing, totally cool. If you want to try to meet, totally cool as well. We're allowed to do that as a church right now. But also, if you know anything about these last several months, especially for those of you that have been coming to our prayer meetings, we like to give updates there and just continued prayer requests on behalf of the church. So grateful for those of you that have been coming. And our large prayer would be, God, where would you have us meet? Is it back at Aliolani, please God, or is it somewhere new? And over the course of praying, obviously, we feel like the Lord is still having us be at Aliolani. There's no other doors that have been opening. And just recently, we heard news from the DOE and Aliolani that as soon as they start getting back into in-person learning, which should be, again, hold it loosely, but at the end of this month, end of October, potentially into November, we are allowed and able to meet back at Aliolani once again in person. And again, we have to take that with a grain of salt and be flexible, as this whole season's taught us. But most likely, what we'll do is we're actually going to transition into a midweek prayer meeting at first. So at Aliolani, probably like Wednesday nights or something, we'll announce all these details, but I just want to give you a heads up. We're going to be going back to kind of an in-person prayer meeting. We will set up a phone and kind of, for those of you that can't make it, we'll still Zoom you in, but we're going to start with that, and then shortly after that, Lord willing, we're going to go back to Sunday morning gathering in person back at Aliolani. And again, there's, I'm sure, many more updates and details on what that'll look like, but just so you know, at first, what the staff is feeling like is that we're going to go feeling what's best for us right now is to go back to a family service outside under our big trees there, under the shade, for family service, at least for the start. And then obviously, we'll see how things go. But the goal is always to go back into, kids' church and every kid's in their classrooms and teachers and that whole big kids' church that we used to have. But in the meantime, the plan is to tentatively, as early as sometime in November, to go back to in-person gathering at Aliolani. I hope you're hearing this and you're excited about it. Again, the timeline there is slightly confusing and ambiguous because it is. But we just have to be okay with that. But just know that we are going to be able to go back to Aliolani. That's the good news. That's the big news. And the when is forthcoming, but please pray along with us that God just continues to open that. And then fairly soon here, we're going to be able to get into midweek prayer meetings and Sunday mornings in person back at Aliolani. More to come, but hope you will turn in this Sunday at 10 a.m. You will come join us for Digital House Church. And a good friend of mine, Dave Lomas, the pastor of Reality San Francisco, will be teaching, and he will be continuing on in this little series that we're camping in on in October, talking about God's faithfulness, being reminded of God's faithfulness and how He's in control of all things in the midst of all that's going on. And so, love to have you at 10 a.m. for our house church. You can find that on our website or our YouTube or Facebook pages. Love you, church. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you Sunday. Aloha.